We're going to go way back this time, 41 years actually, and 1 month from now it'll be 41 years since this device was made. This is a heavy beast. Let's see what we can make of it. In exactly 1 month from today, what we're looking at here will be 41 years old. You guys care to guess what we might be looking at here? Like, this thing's so old, it has twin lead antenna inputs and outputs. This is an RCA VET650. And I think this was one of the first touch control VCRs that RCA had. It certainly was their top of the line VCR of the day. Here are the controls on the front. Soft touch buttons. It even had audio dubbing. 3 speeds. Mechanical tape counter. And a 14 preset tuner. Yep, it's a top loader. I don't know if it works. I have not plugged it in yet. For all I know, there's going to be smoke and sparks. But that's a good sign. The clock lights up. How about power? That's a good sign. The incandescent bulb used for the tape end sensor works. Before they used LEDs, they used an incandescent bulb. And that bulb would break. When it burned out, the machine would not run. No fast forward, no rewind, no play, no record. The only thing it would do was eject. Now, I do think it's going to be highly unlikely that this machine is going to work without requiring some type of work, but let's see if it fast forwards or rewinds, because that will give me an idea as to whether the drive idler, which was always problematic on these, is any good. Does not move. Does not move in either direction. In fact, I don't even hear it attempting. I'm not going to try play, because if it does thread up the tape, it's going to eat it. I don't even hear the motor attempting to start. So now we have a starting place. We have a place to start. Let's remove the top cover and we'll check the machine out and see what is going on with this one. A couple screws in the back. This is one of the legacy machines that I cut my teeth on when I was learning VCRs. Even before I got into the business, I started in the business in '83, but I was actually learning this before that. I was working at another shop, and I was kind of learning VCRs slowly, because nobody knew what they were. Nobody knew what VCRs were back then, because they were such a new product. These hit the market. Oh, there's one screw in the back here. These hit the market in '79 with the VCT201. Actually, I think the VBT200 was the first one that RCA had. The first machine I ever got a chance to work with was a VCT201, because I had one. Forget how to open these. I have to have that closed. Now it will open, but of course I gotta unplug it first, because the power cord is going through a hole in the back of the cabinet. This machine, being a VET, would make it the 4th generation, because RCA started with the VBT line. VBT would have been 1978, VCT 1979, VDT 1980, and the VET series 1981. This is 4 years in for RCA's VHS machines, and this machine was made by Panasonic. If I want to try and make the machine run, I can do so by blocking light getting to the tape sensors, and it'll actually try to move the tape forward because it thinks that the leader is exposed. But nothing's happening. I don't even hear it trying to start the motor up. So let's pull the bottom off of this one and take a look at the electronics on the bottom. Bottom comes off with a bunch of screws. This is my machine. It was given to me. I actually got this at that estate with all the other crap that I got. And no doubt somebody's going to see this unit once it's repaired, if it's repairable, and I'm sure that it probably will be. Somebody's going to see this and want it. The last top loader I had, I sold. And I still get people asking me. I probably get one request a month from people asking if I have any top loading VCRs for sale. And the answer is always, nope, don't have any, don't have any. Well, now I will have one. That is if this machine can be repaired. Circuit boards come out by removing the red marked screws. Circuit board's on a nice big swing hinge, so I just remove the red marked screws and the board will actually fold out. Designed with serviceability in mind because, well, these things weren't that reliable. There was a lot of mechanical things going on in these machines, and they required constant adjustments. And that's kind of a joke to RCA, right? RCA requires constant adjustments. Get it? Get it? We're using acronyms here. What do we have in the bottom of this unit? So this is an early Panasonic machine, and it uses two belts. They're both loading belts. One of them is right here, and the other one is this large belt here that is used to thread and unthread the tape. It does have a mode switch right there, and it features a direct drive drum motor right there and a direct drive capstan motor there. And it's got FG pulses, FG sensors around the outside of the rotor itself. And it does feature a separate motor for running the fast forward and rewind. And that's my concern, is that that motor is not running. I don't hear it attempting to run. I hope it's not burned out. We'll find out pretty quick. I'm going to pull the motor from the bottom here, and then we'll try to operate it and see whether the motor turns. So there's three screws that hold, I think there's three screws that hold this motor in place. There's three screws on this bracket that'll hold the motor in place. I think these three screws have to come out, I'm pretty sure. Might not be a bad idea to unplug this thing while I'm working on it too. I'm hoping it's not the motor that's shot, because these motors did fail. Other parts that broke on these were these plastic gears. But there's the motor out. And the motor is not seized, which is good. I'm just going to put a tape in and hit the fast forward and rewind and see if the motor actually attempts to spin. Okay, the tape is loaded. Try pressing rewind. No, the motor's not turning at all. So what I don't know is it the motor that's shot, or is it the drive circuitry? But there's no attempt for the motor to operate whatsoever in either direction. Oh, it just tried. It just tried. It may be a bad motor. Let's see what happens. Huh, now it's trying. It didn't before. So let me just throw that motor back in, and we'll see whether the machine tries to move the tape. I don't know whether the motor just was a bad commutator, like a bad connection to the commutator from the brushes, and me turning it manually cleaned it off. That's very possible. That's all that was wrong with the motor, is that it was not making a good connection. And when I spun it around a few times, I scraped off the oxidation, and now we have a connection. That would be interesting if that's all that's wrong with it. Wouldn't that be cool? And that a 41-year-old VCR. I tell you, they sure don't make them like they used to. And it's a good thing too, because you just give yourself a hernia picking this thing up. This VCR weighs about its age. That works. And that works. Do I dare press play? We may have a slipping belt. It's trying. We'll try it again. That drum sounds like it's spinning up way, way too fast. So we have a servo problem on this as well. Hear the drum? Listen how that drum takes off. And it's not completing the loading cycle, but we can help that out. So from the bottom, I press play. I'll just be able to help the, I was looking which one it is. I think it's this one. Nope. Which one is it? Which button am I pushing? Play is this one. There's lots of torque. It's not the belt that's slipping, that's for sure. It's something else. Yeah, that's jamming. And I don't want any excessive force, because I don't want to break any of the plastic gears. But something's jamming this up. Let's just take a look at the tape transport on the top. The problem is the pinch roller is seized. When the mechanism loads, the pinch roller moves into position, and then the solenoid pulls it right down, and it's not moving. It's probably seized right here on that bracket. I'm going to remove the top cover, which is just 4 screws, to pull the lid off of it so that I can get better access to the pinch roller. Oh, maybe it's just 2 screws on this one. 2 screws and the lid will lift off. Then I can close the basket and get access to the mechanism. Of course, I can't see what I'm doing here, so watch me drop a screw into the mechanism. Not. No, this should lift off. How does it come off? It lifts up and forward like that. Okay, now I can get at the mechanism a little bit better. If I block that, it'll try to go to fast forward. If I block both sides, I can put it into play. Just going to get some black tape, block the end sensors. We can trick the machine into thinking there's a tape in it by putting black tape where the holes would be in the cassette, and the light shines through, so it blocks the light from reaching the light sensors. Now I can trick it, go into rewind, or go into fast forward, or go into play. This is frozen, I'm sure. I'm sure it's just that's frozen. Let's see if I can turn it by hand. This one's frozen, as is this one. Both of these are frozen solid. So let's see if we can unfreeze them. To give you an idea how frozen this one is, this is supposed to be like this. It's held back by a spring, but as you can see, it's gummed up completely. Which is to be expected on something that's as ancient as this machine is. And I will be lucky if I get this one to run. It's a 6mm socket that's used to remove this aircraft type nut. This video also may end up becoming a multi-parter. I haven't decided yet. We'll see how I progress. But it may be, because we've got a servo problem for sure, it may be that this one's going to have to be done over more than one video, just to try to keep them from being too long. So there's the one seized guide out of the way, and the other one is the pinch roller, which is also completely seized up. That's held in place by this E-clip. So we'll remove the E-clip and have it go flying, and then I can call it a Jesus clip, because that's what you say when the thing flies away. Jesus, did you see where that clip went? This one's going to be a fun one to move. It should actually, it's pulled back by a spring if I remember, and it should turn, if I turn it counterclockwise, it should move down because it is returned by a spring. So if I just do this, rock it back and forth a bit, I should be able to remove it. I may have to put some penetrating oil in there, but on the other hand, I may just be able to move this thing back and forth with the pliers enough to remove it. Yeah, it's coming up. Slowly but surely. It's okay, it's got a spring on it, so I don't want to take that off. But let's clean the bearing up. We'll use some isopropanol and a Q-tip. We'll do the same. We'll clean the bearing here, clean out that bearing, and lubricate everything with some oil, and then hopefully it will work, and that'll be all that's jammed. I hope. Could be more. But as I say, this likely will be a multi-part video. If I get it to thread the tape and get that part working, then we'll work on the servo possibly in a separate video, because that's going to be into electrical work, and I think that keeping the electronics part of the repair separate from the mechanical part, just to simplify things, and also because, come on, every video I make, I make more money off of doing multiple videos. So when we can do a multiple video, I'll always try to, unless it can be done relatively soon, I think that a multi-part video sometimes makes sense. Okay, next thing, I want to open this basket up again, but of course I got to plug it in to do that because the solenoid is latched down. There we go. Okay, I'm going to put the capstan or the pinch roller back on. I think this lever is probably okay on the side here. Yeah, that one's not gummed up. It was just the post here. You can see that's how it's supposed to be. Now we'll just put some oil on there and put the clip back on. I'm just using 3-in-1 electric motor oil. This is not to be confused with the red can of 3-in-1, which is a household oil. Electric motor oil is a completely different formulation. So electric motor oil has no detergents or no emulsifiers or anything else that engine oil has in it. No rust inhibitors or anything that could cause an electric motor bearing to fail. Most motor oils, for example, for combustion engines, have a bunch of detergents in them, and their job is to remove carbon deposits from the inside of the engine, flush them out so that they can be trapped by the oil filter. When you're dealing with electric motors, there's no combustion byproducts, so there's nothing to contain. You just want a nice slick surface that's going to lubricate for a long period of time and keep moisture out. So that's the big difference. It's just basically SAE 20 single weight oil. There's nothing fancy about it. Single weight oil, SAE 20, but no detergents. I'll put the guide back in next. I gotta plug this in again to open up the basket. And put this guide in place, complete with its spring below it. The spring has to latch in. There's a little hole in the chassis down here that this piece of the spring catches into, like that. That's what pulls it in place. And I'm on the wrong side of the caps and shafts. I got to just lift it up a bit, rotate it around so that it's on the correct side of the caps and shaft. It's got to go on this side of the caps and shaft, like this. It drops down in behind. There's a pin that moves it. This lever here is what moves it. So that's in place there. Now I got to put the nut back on. Now the height of this is adjusted after the fact, but for now I'm not too worried about it. We adjust it after the fact just to make sure it doesn't cause any tape curl. But for now, all I care about is seeing if it will load. And if it'll load the tape without jamming, then we've made some progress. Put the cut washer back, or the E-clip back on top. Jesus clip back in place. Let's see whether this will thread up a tape any better. Still not finishing its threading cycle. So there's still more wrong with it than that, but we're making progress. We'll see if the belt is slipping at this point. Okay, so just the belt is slipping a bit there. Now it's going into playback. So, which belt's slipping? This little one? No, the big one. The big belt is slipping a little bit. Let's see if I've got one that's... I don't think I'm going to have one that's close, but maybe I will. Let's take a look and see. So to change the belt, I got to remove the. First of all, I got to take off the power. I got to unplug the drum. I think it's the drum motor, and I got to remove this bracket because the belt is in behind it. So we'll remove this bracket, and then I'll go through my supply of old belts and just see whether I've got one that's a little bit smaller than this one that will just give me a little bit more torque. If I do, great, because I don't think I'll ever use it for anything. That comes down like that. Now I can slip the belt off, just like that. And go see if I've got anything that resembles that one. If not, I may have to boil this one. And this might be a good candidate for boiling. I do have a belt that is slightly smaller. It may do the job. I don't think it's that critical in this roll, the tension of it, because it's just a loading belt. So I think a little smaller belt will probably be fine. A little smaller belt's less likely to slip than a bigger belt, that's for sure. Okay, one belt, one pulley threaded. Let's see if we can get it around the other two pulleys. Oops, almost had it. There. Let's try that. Put the belt retainer bracket back in. That's what this little plastic piece is for. That's just to keep the belt from coming off that pulley and to keep the wires out of it. As you can see, it covers up the bottom of the pulley here to hold the belt on. And of course keeps the wires separated. Alright, now let's try this one more time and see what it's doing and whether we get anything. We're not going to get a picture, obviously, because this thing, the drum sounds like it's spinning up to about 3600 RPM. So we're not going to see a picture. I'm pretty sure we're not going to see a picture. But if it threads and goes through the motions, then we're well on our way to getting this machine running. Okay, play. Well, it threads up now. The tape does not appear to move. Moves in fast forward, but it does not appear to move in play. It appears almost like the tape is sticking. I see that there's tension. I can see tension when the pinch roller engages. I'm just going to try pulling the tape away from the audio head here. Aha. The tape is sticking to the drum probably. And now it's sticking to the yeah, there was a lot of tension there when I put my screwdriver in there and pulled that tape away. There was a lot of tension on this tape. See? I think we maybe just have to clean this thing up a bit. Something's sticking, which is possible. This thing's been sitting around for so many years. Let's give the tape transport a clean. I think there was a little bit of dirt on there. just see if the mechanism goes through the motions with no tape in it. Does the take-up spool turn, for example, which it does not. When I pulled out the real drive motor, I forgot it's a belt drive that drives the take-up through this other idler, which is right down here, and I forgot to thread the belt back on. Well, that would explain why it's not turning the tape. Let's just throw the belt back on. It's got to loop it over the motor shaft here. The belt's okay. It just, I gotta put it back on here. Now the take-up spool should turn. There, that's a little better. Okay, let's see whether it will do anything now. I got no picture, but the drum sounds like it's going the right speed now. I wonder if it's just the heads are clogged. Let's just get the old fingernail trick on the heads. I'm going to just do this and see whether we can get a picture back. Oh, I think we just got really badly clogged heads. Okay, it's playing the wrong speed. It's playing an SLP, it looks like. This is an SP tape. We've made some progress, that's for sure. Definitely have made progress. Could be the audio control head is dirty. We'll try re-cleaning that. The speed is detected from the ACE head, so we'll just make sure that the audio control head is clean and take it from there. They say those heads were, the video heads were so dirty. I had my thumbnail up against the head there while you heard it grinding away for several seconds to clean that head. It's very possible that the audio control head is just as dirty as the video head was. The audio control head is, of course, the bottom part of this head. The top part is where the audio signals are recorded up here, and the bottom part is where the control track is played from. If the control track is not read, then you don't get synchronization. That's what's used to sync up and operate the capstan servo and detects the speed that the tape is recorded at. So no signal from the audio control head, no tape speed, and the machines typically default to the slowest speed, SLP, if they don't detect a signal. Still going at SLP. Let's try making a recording and see if the machine will record. It'll be in the SLP speed. I'll make the recording, grab a blank tape, I'll hook up my in-house cable and tune in one of my in-house cable channels. We'll see if this thing will record and play at SLP. Okay, I'm just recording at the end of this tape, I'm just recording an interview with the late Chick Corea, done way back in the 1980s when he was on a program and he's being interviewed. So we'll record the interview part. I can certainly record that. If I play the music, I'll probably pull a copyright match, but we'll record the interview and see if it records this okay, and see if it plays it in the SLP speed. That gives me a place to start. Okay, let's see whether what I recorded, whether it plays back what I just recorded. And it does. It plays. It plays in SLP, but it wouldn't play that other tape. Interesting. So it's either stuck in SLP or it's not reading that other tape properly. But it certainly is playing the tape that I just recorded in all its glory, about 200 lines of resolution, because that's about what VHS was capable of recording at the time. This is a performance of Chick Corea Electric Band 1986. So I can't, obviously can't show this performance, but let's just say it was electrifying.
Great friend of ours named Joe Farrell. And it's called Get a Match.
And that's about all I can show, but this machine is sort of working. So I tried to make a recording in the, a recording in the SP and then the LP. And then I tried it again and then I switched to the EP. So it looks like it's not playing the SP and it's not playing the LP, but when I go down to the EP speed, it should be there. See, that's playing slow. So we'll see when I change the speed whether it becomes the correct speed. So that's there we go. Okay, so that's the I only recorded it for, that should be probably the LP. It should kick in here momentarily. That's still LP, I think. Yeah, and then I kicked it into the SLP speed, and now it works. So it's not detecting the speed for playback. So now we know where we need to go on this one. And I'm going to end part 1 right now. We'll pick this up for part 2, and we'll see if I can figure out why it's not detecting the speed. It's recording. When I change the 3 speeds to record, I see the 3 different speeds record onto tape, but it's not detecting playback. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tape that I've just recorded at the 3 speeds, I'm going to take it into another machine and see if it plays the 3 different speeds. And I'll let you know here before we finish this off whether it's a playback problem. I think it probably is speed detection problem, but let me just confirm that. Okay, here I'm in the studio. This is the tape in my Toshiba, and we'll see that it does indeed play the SP speed. I'm just going to mute the sound here, and we can see the speed is SP, and it is playing it. And then I'm going to kick it down to the LP. We got sound in LP, and then I'm going to kick it down to the SLP speed momentarily. And it does indeed record all the speeds. So we have a problem with this machine on playback. So we'll pick this one up in the next part. We'll tackle the playback circuit. I'm going to have to do some research, find out where the speed switching and stuff is done on this circuit. It may be something as simple as circuit glue on the board, but we will investigate that in part 2. We know that mechanically it's working now, and it records, and it plays back SLP. Doing a lot better than we did when we started. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in part 2. Bye.